up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Bullets, Barbells, and Barbecue. I'm your host, Brett. I got Matt here with the bum arm, so no can openers.
Nope.
And Chris is back. It's been a little bit,
Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yay, Chris is back.
I always forget about the buttons.
Yeah, never gets old. Before we get to the end, we'll talk about like our, I guess you call them like some sponsor/partnerships. I mean, I don't make any money off of them, but you know, in case people don't listen toward the end. Obviously, Tanner's not here today, but you know, Elite Nutrition Omaha.com, and they do a 10% discount code for all listeners. It's the discount code is B3, and I think it said free shipping. I think over $50.
Yep, anything over 50.
So that's a pretty sweet deal. And I think they ship worldwide, which is nice. And then we got a partnership with Rosewood Block, who makes like, we all have one, like probably the best cutting boards out there.
Mm-hmm. Cutting boards are awesome. Yep.
They do custom. They do all kinds of shit. They have American flag ones, Texas flag ones.
Yeah.
They have all kinds. You can customize them completely. They do engraving. They do epoxy fills on them. Rosewoodblock.com. And a 10% discount there also with the discount code B3, which is pretty sweet.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And they also sell the supplies to keep your boards looking fresh.
Yes.
The oils and the waxes and whatnots.
Which is, I think, really overlooked on good cutting boards. Like good cutting board maintenance. Because I think everyone's seen those cutting boards that are on the table that are just so, like dull and dry in the middle and look kind of nice around the outside. But like if you actually take care of them, they last forever. And there's a distinct difference between like high quality cutting boards and like some of the other like kind of just junky wood ones out there.
Oh, for sure. And they even do a lot of end grain ones, which I guess the end grain is supposed to be better for the knife blades.
Yeah. It's better for the knife blades because like you've got all your like the hairs, all the grain are standing up so the blades can slide between them.
It's very factual piece.
Mm-hmm.
I'd wash mine with soap and water. Do you use soap on yours?
I do soap and water probably a couple times a year, but most of the time I just take it over the sink, run hot water down it, and like scrape the chunks off. But I'm pretty good about washing it shortly after I use it. Don't just let it sit there for like a week with a week's worth of juices on it.
Do you even use yours, Chris? Or
I do use mine. And
like you actually cut or just decorate?
Actually cut.
I mean, I have a couple for decoration, actually. They're nice.
I use soap and water, but I immediately hit it with the walrus oil after.
And when I say use soap and water, I use that, was that spray dish soap they have now? I just spray that, and like, real quick, I wipe it off. I don't, like, scrub it into the board. I use, like a stiff, like sponge.
Scrub buddies.
Yeah, those little scrub daddies.
Scrub daddy, that's what it is.
Yeah, to get it off real quick and then, like I said, oil it. But yeah, check those guys out, Rosewood Block. They're, if you've watched any of the Matt Pittman videos, they make all of his boards. That's where I originally got mine from. So check those guys out. Staying on the barbecue run, I tried out the spray tallow from Chicago Packing House, I think is what it's called. It's Wagyu tallow. I use it on the old Traeger Flat Rock.
Nice.
I thought it worked really well.
What'd you make with it?
Smash burgers, and well, then we put some butter down for the buns. I don't have a bun butterer as Matt does, yeah. But I thought it worked really well. It puts out a good amount, but like not too much, and I think it was good flavor.
Yeah, it worked well. We used it last weekend a bunch on a Blackstone when we did breakfast and some lunch stuff and whatnot. And sprayed out well, good consistency. I like that some of these sprays, like that one, and I think the duck spray, like the spray pattern itself isn't just like a cone. It'll kind of come out with a little more of like I don't know if it's a line or something, but it's easier to just kind of coat something with.
Yeah. What do you guys like store your flat rock with? Like when you close it down, you spray it with something?
Usually I just scrape off whatever grease is on there, and then because I use mine almost every day to make breakfast, and I always make bacon. So then after that, I just scrape most of it down, and then kind of whatever the cleaner looking oil is, I kind of just spread it across there a little bit, and then let that just chill.
Yeah.
Because I scrape it after every use, but I don't wipe it down. And if there's some dry spots on there, I spray avocado oil on it.
Yep. I've used avocado, duck fat, kind of whatever oil I was cooking with. I just put like a real light thing, but I don't think I do a whole lot with like to intentionally try to coat it. I probably should with the flat rock because it's outside and a little more exposed, but like the cast iron stuff I use inside, I wash that like every 2 or 3 months. And like by wash it, I mean like actually put water and scrub out the stuff. Otherwise, I'll just like wipe down the chunks of the paper towel and like throw it away and then put it back in the oven, let it hang out.
I use that Lodge spray that they make for the cast irons. Whenever I'm done with my, well, I did the same thing with my Blackstone. I just spray that. I scrape it. Sometimes I use water on it if I got something that's really stuck.
How long have you had those pans?
Which, the Lodge ones?
The Lodge ones, yeah.
I don't use my inside very often though.
Oh. So I think like I think using it, like coating them is really important when you first get them and start going through, because like you want to build up all those layers on there. But anymore, the 2 pans that I use the most inside, I've probably had for 8 years, and I'd say they get used at least 5 days a week.
Oh wow, yeah, I don't use my cast irons hardly.
So funny enough, I started using them just because I felt more masculine. I was like, I'm a fucking man cooking on cast iron inside on an electric stove. Look at me go.
I used to use it more often before the flat rock, but not as much. But ours are old too.
Yeah.
We have 2 of them that are.
Yeah, once you get going, and like I think there's a misconception like you can't use soap and water on cast iron because like it'll break down the oil layers and stuff. And I mean, if you let it sit there, like actually the worst thing you can do is do like really acidic stuff, like is it tomatoes? I know tomatoes are one of them.
I would guess
like boiling water in it. Like some people I've heard, like seen, like they throw stuff in, and like there's some recipes where you want to put water in there, bring it to a simmer, and then add stuff. And like the acid in tomatoes will eat away at your oil layers. The boiling water will kind of do the same thing because the water will get down into the little tiny crevices and spots of like in the oil, the crust, and start to break it loose. But otherwise, like if you get done with it and you let it dry off and use soap and water, I mean, maybe you take a little bit off, but it's not enough.
I think it almost feels kind of sticky when it's before it heats up. You know, after it's set there for a little bit, like the inside of the pan feels a little bit sticky, and you're like, ew, that might be nasty. And some people probably scrape that off, but that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
Because once that stuff heats back up, then that's your little layer to where your food doesn't stick to it. So ours are one of them is really worn in. I think that was Jess's pan that she's had forever, and the one was mine. And mine isn't as broken as hers is, but hers is like the cooking surface is smooth and it's got that perfect coat on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that glass finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't use ours like near enough then. I don't. Yeah. I mean, originally I bought the Dutch oven to make smoked queso.
Yeah, like we have a couple cast iron Dutch ovens, and I think you have to use those a lot. I think those are even harder because you have so much more cooking surface and you don't have like fat on everything. Like on the pans I have, like there's fat on the bottom every time you cook, and then I'll try to like rub some around the edges. Rub it around the edges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, spit on it.
Yeah. Rub it till I try to get that stuff sealed up as well. But yeah, I think the Dutch ovens, like you have to use those a lot and probably take a lot more care of them.
Yeah, my original Dutch oven was just when I farted under the covers and held Amber's head underneath of it.
Oh, that was a covered wagon, isn't it?
I think it's both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Covered wagon.
Yeah, that's how I determined like that she was the one.
When you covered wagoned her.
Yeah, I gave her the old fucking covered wagon Dutch oven, whichever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But she stayed around, so
Yep.
can't be super mad
It's
about
the real
that.
test.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were talking about some different gun things. Then I was like, "What is your dream gun? If you could pick any gun."
Oh man.
Probably one made from Jesse James.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would buy one of those for sure. It's
Why?
handmade. And they're super cool looking. You ever seen any photos of them?
Oh yeah, his like Grandmasters.
Doesn't he like mill them out of like a solid piece of metal?
Yes.
Yeah. He did one. Did you see the one he did that was made from somehow? He got some when they did a remodel of some stuff on the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, no, I did not see that.
He got some metal from the Statue of Liberty somehow.
Oh really?
Yeah, and he made a gun with that melted down.
And then other than that, like a full auto MP5 probably. Yeah, 90 millimeter. That'd be
Wow.
nice.
Yeah.
Those are probably like $30,000 too, though, plus all the licensing to have a full auto weapon.
I think the licensing's the same as like your regular suppressor. It's just an NFA item.
I've never really looked into it. I think maybe the more expensive licensing is if you're selling them, or because I could have swore I read somewhere one time that you had to have a pretty substantial license to either house multiple of them in your home or to sell them or whatever.
I could see selling them and stuff, but I was pretty sure anything that falls under like that NFA tax stamp, like it's just the $200 tax stamp.
For the full auto stuff?
Yeah, for the full auto stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
the cost comes in the gun.
Yeah, because it has to be the firing mechanism has to be made before.
That might be what it is.
Is it 86 or something?
Yeah,
like
85,
that,
86, something like that.
And so there's very few of those around. So you're talking about people who have them are just like sitting on literally fucking limited edition.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to sell it at limited edition pricing.
Right. Yeah.
But the binary triggers.
I mean, that's pretty much, you can get the same thing.
Yeah.
In binary, you can get pretty damn close. And I think unless you fired a full auto, like I don't think many people realize how fast you'll go through ammo.
And you're not very accurate
No.
unless you really train with it. Yeah. That's why the MP5 would be because obviously it's 9 millimeter, so it doesn't really.
The recoil's not crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I shot that one with a binary trigger, and you can run through the mag real fast.
Real fast. I mean, you can mag dump a semi-auto super fast.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's plenty of people who have a real quick trigger finger.
Yeah.
What's your dream gun, Matt?
Oh, I don't know. It's got to be something like obnoxious. I would think like if I could just pick anything, it would probably be one of those full auto 40 millimeter grenade launchers.
That's not the street sweeper though.
No, that's the one that sits up on on a tripod, belt fed. They'll shoot like 70, 80 rounds a minute, something like that. Maybe more.
I did see there's like a new grenade launcher that you can buy. Have you seen that?
No.
Where did I see that at? But it just shoots like a flashbang.
That'd be fun.
I just saw it somewhere. I can't remember where that was at. But a street sweeper would be cool though also.
Street sweeper, like what?
That's the one that has the isn't it the grenade launcher where it's like circular?
Oh, the tube?
The tubes where it just rotates through?
Is that what they call those? I thought that was a shotgun.
I thought that was the street sweeper.
Hold on, let's use the Google.
I could be wrong though.
I don't know.
I would take one of those. That'd be cool.
That'd be fun. But like that you could actually like probably pretty easily buy.
Yeah, or what are those ones where you get those grenade launchers, but it just shoots out like 40, 22 rounds?
Yeah, well those are just your rounds, like the ammunition that goes for it.
Yeah.
As soon as I typed in street sweeper, shotgun popped up.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Let's see if they make a grenade launcher too.
I mean, they probably do. I saw it on Terminator too.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but like the rounds, because there's a guy I knew who he bought like the single shot, like the kind that breaks open like a single shot, and you can put different rounds in there. So he had one that shot regular 22 long rifle rounds, shot the 17, the HRMs.
Oh, 17 HMR.
HMRs. It shoots those, and so like the way you have it, it's just like a brass case, and you drop your rounds in there, and then you have a firing plate that goes on the back. So when the hammer comes forward from the actual rifle or from the
hits
gun,
all the firing pins.
it hits that fire pin, push that plates forward, and hits all the firing pins at the same time. Or I guess they're all.
Yeah, it doesn't have like a cool name, like a hornet's nest or something like that.
Yeah, something, but they shoots out stuff like that. So he got that. He got both of those rounds. He has, I don't know, he bought a bunch of boxes of chalk rounds. They have like a blue tip on them.
Oh, wow.
And so it looks like the grenade launcher end, but it's just a blue tip and it just shoots a big chalk ball. And then he got some that had some kind of paint thing in there. And he's working, and I think he said something about you need like a pyrotechnic license and some other sorts before you can have like the actual explosive grenade launching end.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Just put the flamethrower on it instead, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
What'd you find over there?
So they do make a grenade launcher too. Well, it's called I'm probably butchering the name, the Milcore MGL, made in 1981 by South Africa. Yeah.
Is it 6 rounds or what is it?
6 rounds.
Yeah. Just bang, bang, bang. Grenades. Everywhere.
Double action.
How about 100-round container full auto?
3 rounds a second, rapid fire.
3 rounds a second. So in 2 seconds, fun's over because it probably takes a second to fucking reload that. Fucking there goes the fun.
Yeah. But I think I don't know if it's that exact gun, but were I to be able to just like peruse all the firearms out there, it'd be something wildly obnoxious like that with no use.
It's like that time I loaded up the drum on my Tommy gun and got super excited and then it just jammed.
Boom, boom, fuck.
That was sad.
That was a humongous buildup.
I know.
Like,
everyone was so excited,
yes.
and then it just fucking. And that thing is not meant to be shoulder fired. I don't even know why they offer
No.
it that way because it's super
No.
uncomfortable.
But as soon as you walked up there, like we all felt a little more Italian gangsterish.
Yeah. Yeah, the hip fire. I wish the one I had the push button stock release.
Oh,
That would be nice.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you can hang it out the window easier like the mobsters. But yeah, the thing, and it gets heavy because it holds 50, 45
Yeah.
rounds.
Yeah, I mean, when you shoot it, it's like it doesn't kick and move that much because it's so
No,
fucking
the
heavy.
gun itself is super heavy,
Yeah.
and the bolt is like the hardest bolt I've ever seen come forward.
Yeah, you don't want to have your finger anywhere close to that when it's
Well, they make a thing.
ramming home.
Yeah, they make a thing to put the drum in called a third hand. And it's a little metal piece you have to slide up inside of it to hold the switch up so you can get the fucking, that holds the bolt back. So there's literally like a little piece of metal that separates your finger from being severed. Because the full autos of those, speaking of full autos, are an open bolt. So when it's done, when it's empty, the bolt locks back. But the semi-auto, the bolt doesn't lock back.
I wonder why that is.
I have no idea. And it's super hard to pull the bolt back. I don't know.
How many times have you shot that gun?
Just once. It's like most of my guns.
Yeah.
Did you ever polish the feed ramp or anything?
No, it's been hanging on the wall.
Oh, well, it probably looks cooler there anyway.
Yeah, except the drum wouldn't fit on the wall. I need
Just
to,
need longer arms to mount it out.
I know. I have the Galotech board.
Mm.
Everybody knows Galotech they make cool stuff, but they need to make me one that I can hang a Tommy gun on.
Yeah, so if you're listening, Galotech,
And they should
Yeah.
sponsor the.
You should sponsor
show.
the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send us all boards to hang all of our cool guns on.
yeah, and it's a nice backdrop back here.
Yeah, we'd have
Totally.
we'd have to get a better lock at the door then.
Yeah, or just get replica guns.
Yeah.
What would be your dream gun, Brett?
Ah, man, that's.
It's a tough one, right?
Because I have a lot of the guns I've always wanted.
Must be
A
nice.
full auto
Yeah.
Modus.
That's probably up there. That would be, and if anybody doesn't know what he's talking about, it's the belt fed 50 that's on top of a Humvee. But you can buy it on a tripod. The gun you can buy for like, it's a semi-auto though.
Yeah.
But it's like 14,000, and then the fucking tripod is like another 2,000 or 3,000.
And then you got to have a machinist mount it in the back of the TRX.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see Demolition Ranch where he mounted it in the golf cart? He put it on the roof of the golf cart.
Yeah.
No, that'd be cool. I mean, it's expensive though. But then they talk about you have to adjust the head spacing and all that, and that makes me
Yeah, there was
nervous.
something about like when you, and I imagine maybe once you transport it, you have to kind of jiggle with it a little bit to get it.
That part makes me nervous.
Yeah, you don't want it to explode on you.
And it's something like that. And also,
50 caliber round explode in the breech. That'd be great.
yeah, and the breech is like right next to your hand, basically.
Yeah.
Nah,
But
it's fine.
it's and even if you have the full auto, you can't just like dump the whole 100 rounds in the belt. You got to like have a little cadence on it,
Yeah.
which I mean that's fine.
I mean,
guess.
some kind of minigun would be super fun.
A minigun would be cool.
I like the one from Predator.
Oh yeah, that belt fed one. What was it, Lucille?
What did they call it?
They call them something, but that was
I kind of thought it was painless.
I thought it had a girl's name. Totes wrong on that, I'm guessing.
Hold on.
I mean, I always wanted a Barrett. I have a Barrett, which is
Yeah.
super fun.
But I mean, firing a minigun, holding onto it, it's got to be just miserable, right? 'Cause you
It's
gotta-
probably like when we shot those two AKs at the same time.
I mean, you can hold on one side, cool. Like the gun itself is going to weigh a bunch, but you also have to have a backpack of ammo.
Yeah, wasn't that Terminator where he stood in the window and
Yeah.
just started cutting people down with it?
And so that one, like, there was an actual gun-ish that could be fired like that, but it was a backpack that had almost like zigzag pattern of ammunition in there that got loaded, and then there was a hard cased belt that went down to the gun, so all the ammo, kind of almost like you'd find on a like an airplane, to guide into the feed ramp and fire.
You know, one of the, as far as like guiding, one of the coolest guns I think is the.
Old Painless.
Oh no shit!
I was right.
God,
Look
what
at
was
you.
Lucille? You know what?
Hey, that's in my bio that I know movie lines. So
Actually, you know,
that's my thing.
I think Lucille was on an episode of Family Matters. It was his, or no, it was on Fresh Prince. It was his pool cue. when he went and hustled him after Will lost all the money.
That's so close to
That's
the movie
pretty much the
Predator.
same thing.
I mean, how did you? Yeah, I mean, I could see how
they
those
both
could
had people in it.
intertwine. Yeah.
They both have black people in it.
All right, fair.
Okay, so before I lose my train of thought, back to 50 caliber rounds exploding. Did you ever see that guy that had? Don't you
Kentucky
have
Ballistics?
that? Yeah, don't you have that rifle?
Yeah.
Or did you have that?
Yeah.
No, I have it. The Serbu
That's-
firearms, but it was that dude's fault, 100%.
Yeah, he said he was using homemade
Because they
rounds,
sent him
right?
another one because I think
Yeah.
that they felt like it was negative press on them, and so
It
he
was.
went through each round.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
He went through each round, and he had like a ballistics wall between him and that
Yeah.
or whatever, and he shot, and then he went up to the slap round that he shot because the threads. So Serbu Firearms makes a single shot that you have like a firing cap you unscrew, you put the round in, put the cap back on, and then it has almost like an AR lower that you pull the paddle back, and then when that paddle comes forward, hits the firing pin. The threads on that cap are rated at 80,000 PSI, and he blew the fucking threads off of it and almost died. But that guy's an idiot anyway. I don't like any of his videos.
I've barely. I think I watched that video and I watched some other stuff, and he does some weird.
Yeah, he does a bunch of dumb stuff. Like he should have died.
I mean,
No, the
so
guy that shot against the steel plate and the round bounces back and hits his earphone off. He's like,
That
"Oh,
guy with the
that was
Barrett.
close."
Yeah, it was a Barrett,
Yeah.
and he shot in that. It was a steel plate or was it gravel? He was shooting that weird like gravel a lot.
Yeah, it had to be like a steel
But the
plate or
round
something.
ricocheted back and ripped his fucking earmuffs off. And he was like, "Oh, that was close." I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding? Well, that was
I'm gonna
close."
shit my pants and close. I mean, that would be one of those stories. Oh man, that time I shit my pants shooting my 50 cal.
That's
yeah,
like
I
the
almost died.
girl that takes the Desert Eagle to the face. Everybody's seen that video.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of
Where
people
she's
that
shooting the
done
Desert
that.
Eagle that shoots 50 BMG.
Oh,
Just
there's that one where that dude's shooting at I think it's a 44 Magnum, and he's in the indoor gun range and he's showing people. He's like, "All right, you want to?" And he like accidentally.
He's an
barks,
instructor, right?
Yeah, he like barks a round off and it smacks him right in the mouth. Do you mean to do that? Yep. Have you seen that video? Oh, it's hilarious. But the Kentucky Ballistics. Well, okay, so he does do some dumb shit, but Demolition Rants, he does dumb stuff too. But I don't know, it's just done better for some reason. Like watching, I think his name's Matt on that
Yeah.
show. Watching him do that stuff that he does is funny. But the Kentucky Ballistics guy, there's just something different about it.
I think Kentucky Ballistics tried to put like a little more redneck spin on it.
Yeah,
that's
there's
right.
less safety protocols at the Kentucky Ballistic shoots. Like,
Obviously,
yeah. Yeah, I think Demolition Ranch has a few more safety protocols that he runs. I mean, and he doesn't. His gun videos are not what they used to be anymore.
No, he moved over to start doing a bunch of that abandoning the ranch, or renovating the abandoned ranch, or
that
abandoned resort.
Yeah, the Off the Ranch channel he has.
Yeah,
He got big off the gun videos, though. That's how it started.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
He seems like a super nice dude.
yeah.
And not saying the Kentucky Ballistics guy isn't nice, but he seems like a butt fuck.
But it's like that Matt guy, his little gun vault under his garage is pretty sick.
Dude, and then so he put that in. So he bought that abandoned mansion, redid it, put the gun vault in. And then he built a gun vault at their new headquarters, took all of his guns out of that and took it there because Galotech outfitted the whole thing again. And by the way, if anybody wants any cool gun displays, Galotech makes for like some of the coolest shit.
They do.
It's not the cheapest shit you're ever going to buy, but it's very versatile.
Again, sponsor the show.
Yeah,
That'd be great. I'm sure at least 10 people from Galotech listen to this.
at least.
Yeah.
Rounded up from 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have a Barrett. That was kind of always my dream gun. The first like gun I always wanted was a Desert Eagle because when like RoboCop pulled it out of his leg,
Right.
I always thought it was pretty sweet.
I don't think that's a Desert Eagle.
The very first RoboCop movie. You don't think that looks just like a Desert Eagle?
It looks like one, but I
Well,
don't
that's
think
what
it is
that's
one.
I'm guessing what they
I
modeled.
mean, it's
it
also a
after.
fucking robot. So
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm guessing
we
that's what they modeled.
we gotta
no way a robot man would use a Desert Eagle.
That's so dumb.
Actually, it means we're talking about guns. So there's always this like whole like Second Amendment debate, right? About, and I hate, this is the worst argument. Well, when they wrote it, I don't think they meant machine guns, and I think we've talked about this before. But if one of those guys would have rolled up to George Washington and been like, "Hey, I have this gun that you just hold the fucking trigger and it just keeps shooting."
That's way too aggressive. We don't want one of those.
Yeah,
No thanks.
Yeah, get that out of here.
I highly doubt that's how it would have gone. And anybody who has ever seen a blunderbuss, which a blunderbuss was basically had a percussion charge that they could fucking throw rocks and nails and whatever else they wanted to. I would way rather get shot with a gun and die because you're just going to die from an infection from a blunderbuss.
Wasn't it like an 80% casualty rate if you had some torpa in like the civil, I know Revolutionary War for sure. I think it's all the way through the Civil War. A massive leg trauma at or below the hip. It was like an 80% casualty rate because there was no like effective treatment. It was just like, oh, well, let's just cut it off below where the damage is because we have no way to get in there. So we can tourniquet around the top to kind of try to stop it. It will just amputate it and hope you don't die from infection.
Yeah. So
That's probably how they rolled. Yeah.
yeah, there's no way I'd want to get shot with a blunderbuss.
I just like to avoid being shot.
Well, yeah, but if I'm in the Revolution, I'd way rather get shot with a full auto and just be dead.
Go back in time, Brett, in the Revolution. Hey, these guns suck. I'd rather way rather get shot with a full auto gun. I'm going to start working on that. We'll go back.
Right. That goes to, what was that? Someone we were talking to at some point, they were talking, like, they always talk about like the most lethal caliber or lethal round and like what it's going to stop and stuff. And it was, someone had mentioned like, go find people someone that's been shot by several different calibers and ask them which one hurt most.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you get shot by a 9 or a 40, you're not going to tell me the difference.
Oh, the 40 was way worse. Like, it was way more of a burning pain. And, like,
Yeah.
The 9 was like a sting.
Yeah. No
I think
way.
the difference would probably be what type of round it was, like ball ammo versus hollow point.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That.
Yeah, that would.
if you're
that
running
has way more bearing on the conversation than.
if you're on a 9 or
I'm
a
sure
40,
you're probably not going to be able to tell at the time. Man, that felt like a.
Right.
That felt like a hollow point.
I mean, from like
Yeah.
self-defense statistics, I thought it's always been like rounds on target versus like caliber or even type.
yeah, I mean, if I shoot you with like a full mag of 22s, it's still going to hurt like super bad.
Well,
I'd take
most
that
likely
over,
gonna die.
over a bunch of yellow jackets.
Oh, that just stung you and
Yeah.
swelled your arm? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt tried to wrestle a bunch of yellow jackets. That
Yeah.
didn't work out either.
How did you go about this? Is this a good story?
I'm sure it's a lot funnier from Erin's point of view because she was up in our sunroom looking down at me. And so when I mowed, all summer when I've mowed, I've been stung like once or twice by these yellow jackets and I cannot find where they were at. And so I would just mow, get stung, look for them, couldn't find them, go back. This last time I was mowing on Monday, mowing around, got stung a couple times, stopped, went back, was looking, thought I saw where they might be, started wrestling around, got stung again. I was like, all right, bitches, I know where you're at. So I go inside, grab a bunch of Raid. So I've got 2 cans of Raid, go out there, start kind of like spraying around, doing something. And then they sting me like a couple more times. And then I'm like, all right, I know where you are. And they were under this stump. And yellow jackets, like a lot of ground wasps, their nests are like in the ground. When I've uncovered them in the past, their nests are like attached and in the ground. So I kicked this log over, fully expecting the nest to still be like in the ground. So I kick it over, and as the log starts rolling over, I start spraying the ground with Raid. And then out of the corner of my eye, I see the log rotate up, and it stops, kind of does a 180 and stops. And the entire yellow jacket nest is on top of the log, along with the entire yellow jacket colony. And they're like, and they start coming up. So I just start spraying at their nest, and like they're stinging me. They're lighting on my arm, but I wanted to murder them. So I'm just sitting out there with it. And then one of them flew by my ear, and like I felt it brush my ear. And that's when I was like, nope, done. We're out of here. And so I start going back, and I'm trying to get out of here. And Erin's upstairs, again, talking to her mom on the phone, looking down at me, and they can hear me yelling. I'm like, you fucking cocksuckers, motherfuckers. And I'm just like spraying Raid around me as I'm running around the house, just letting out
As though it's their fault that you tore their house up.
How dare they attack me as I try to murder their family. So like looking down at it, I'm sure it was a lot funnier from Erin's point of view. But they followed me all the way around the house to the front. And then when I came inside, a couple of them followed me inside. We were able to get them. But my right arm that night just was like gigantic. I had like my elbow was just this big bag of fluid like hanging down on there. It was pretty swollen for a while.
Did you get any superpowers?
No,
That's
not really.
Sucks.
Other than my arm was really warm, if that counts.
Yeah, it keeps your arm warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you kill all of them? Did you go back and finish the job?
I did
or-
not. I called someone else to go out and get stung and kill him. But so that happened on Monday. On Sunday, I had ordered a weed burning torch.
Oh, flamethrower. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, if this thing shows up before this recon guy gets out here, I'm out there. I'm going to murder every single one of them. It did not get there in time. So the guy went out there and did that. But
I got stung once while mowing too, and they were in the ground like that. Mm-hmm. I think I had like 3 of them in my shorts. I'm like mowing, all of a sudden I get stung. I'm like, oh, and I'm like, oh shit! And you run in the house, take off they're stomping on them. And I'm like, I went back out, look for them too. I poured gas down that hole and lit it on fire. I win.
Yeah, the first one we did. That's the first one I found. They were in the mulch underneath the tree, and that's exactly what I did. I just stuck a funnel in there and dumped probably half a gallon of gasoline down there. That'll get them out.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate times.
Yep, just murder them. But yellow jackets. As I start reading about yellow jackets, of like the wasp community, yellow jackets are the most, if not the most aggressive.
Don't they remember you too? I thought I heard something where like they recognize people.
They'll recognize you, so they'll be. So if you fuck with their nest, like really piss them off, they will stay kind of in defense mode for up to a month, from what I was reading. So like their perimeter of patrol will expand. Where like usually they have like a perimeter around their nest, and if you get kind of within this, they'll come up and they'll start checking you out. And like if you're there too often, then they'll sting you, kind of like, hey, get away. Where most other, at least what I've read, most other like wasps and bees and stuff, unless you actually fuck with them, like you can be by them. Like our bee colony, I can go up to that bee colony and hang out there, and they don't do, like they'll land on me and kind of walk around and then they take off. But the yellow jackets, so once they sting you, then you kind of like are tagged, and so now the others know where you are. So like if you go out there and you piss them off and they sting you, and the colony gets in defense mode, then now you've already been tagged as an asshole, and so all of them know exactly where you are. And so that's why like the first 2 stings I got when I was mowing were on my right arm, which I assume is why they decided to light up my right arm, because like it had already been pre-tagged, and then they got pissed and they came out. And so like my right arm, probably like 5 to 7 times I know for sure I got stung on that arm. 3 or 4 times on my back, a couple times on my leg.
That could have gone poorly. I've seen my girl.
Right?
Yeah, he died.
He did. But I brought this around. I busted out some epi, had it on the counter. I'm like, Aaron, if I stop breathing and you want to save me, like,
Yeah,
this-
the
this
one.
And
the
you
one-
want to
yeah,
save me.
Yeah, that was the key. Like, she has to want to save me.
Yeah. I had an unfortunate situation like that last week at the Nebraska game. I had a shit like right before halftime. It's the worst.
Good thing you took that epi.
Good segue right into the
It was, but it was like there was probably like 5 minutes left before halftime, and I was like, man, I should go now so I can beat the halftime
line.
crowd.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just like your regular like lightning poop and get out. It was one of those just like, I'm gonna be here for a little bit. And then I thought I was done. I'm like grabbing some toilet paper, and I'm like, bloop, bloop. Nope.
You stand up. Oh fuck! I sit back
No,
down.
I was about ready to stand up, and I was like, that may have been the battle, but the war is not over yet. So I sat back down, and I was like, oh my God. And like I just keep like, because I can hear the fucking announcer.
Right.
Like we're up on the newer like East Side expansion, so the bathrooms are nice. They're always like super clean. But I'm like, I just keep fucking talking, man. Somebody call a timeout. Whatever needs to happen. So finally, I come out of there, and because I told Amber I was going to the concession stand, and I come up,
And you
she's
came out
like,
with no snacks?
no, I did go, and she's
Okay.
like, what happened? And I was like, dude, I had a shit super bad all of a sudden when I got down there. Probably I had to.
Because you started walking, things started moving.
Well, I kind of felt something hit me while I was sitting there.
What'd you eat?
Well, they have like a new cheddar wurst there.
Oh, there it is.
But I got that thing where it doesn't matter. I could eat the same thing 10 times, and the 11th time I'm going to fucking shit my life away, so it doesn't really.
I mean, if you say cheddar wurst and afterwards I had to shit my life away, everyone's probably going to associate
Oh, yeah.
that with the cheddar. Yeah, cheddar.
Fair.
So after
yeah.
I got done shitting, I was like, you know what? I should chase that with a runza to maybe get some bread in me to really fucking.
Soak some of that up.
So I get up there with runza and fucking hot tamales.
Oh,
Yeah, but it was, I got out before halftime, and I got snacks and got back up to my seat before halftime.
Nice.
Yeah.
that's got to be a record.
Yeah, Nebraska
Could have
ended
timed
up
yourself.
pulling out that game there.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Yeah, hopefully this week. Well, actually, we're going to be off a little bit because we have a pre-recorded episode already, so we're going to be like a couple weeks off here. But that was at the Northern Illinois game that the incident happened.
Mm.
And today's Louisiana Tech, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if Nebraska handily beats Louisiana Tech, I think Nebraska can win, including these two I think Nebraska can win 5 games this year at least. That's my prediction.
All right.
But I think they also might upset either Michigan or Wisconsin, which this will come out after the Michigan game anyway, so
Yeah.
because we already have one for next week. So, but I think they can upset one of those teams if they play well today. If they lose today, well, what the fuck? It doesn't matter after that.
No, not really. It doesn't.
But
The unluckiest team ever to play football.
Yeah, and all
Always.
these coaches that are like, well, we need 3 or 4 years. They just really got fucked because Dion has proven that to be completely wrong now.
But
that's also kind of different.
I mean, he's a different guy coming in, obviously.
Right, but he can attract, like he's going to suck talent to him right away.
didn't he do something different too? I think, what is it, Colorado and Baylor? Didn't they basically almost get rid of the kids that were there before and brought in a completely new
Dion
group
started.
of kids?
He brought in like 70 or 80 new kids.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
like they had videos because he did an interview last weekend, I think.
Which is kind of ruthless if you think about it,
came
to the
in and
kids
was
that have
like, "Hey, a bunch
scholarships
of you-"
already.
He's like, a bunch of you guys aren't good enough for the team. So I'd encourage a lot of you guys to go check the portal, move over to other teams where you have a chance to play.
Yeah, he kind of told him how it was.
Yeah,
That's pretty ruthless, but that's how football is going to be from there on out anyway. You know what I mean? Yeah, you made it to college, you got a scholarship. I mean, it's a pretty ruthless game to get into. And
When it gets more ruthless if these kids are going to try to go to the pros.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't
then
get better.
Right.
If you come in and someone tells you like, you know what, you actually suck and we're not going to keep your scholarship, we're going to pull your scholarship because you're not good enough to play here. That sounds pretty harsh for college kids, but I mean, that's the
That's
reality
real
of it.
life.
And let's be honest, college football is a business. The university wants to make money. The fans want the team to be good. They don't get more donations if the team's not good, So that's pretty much, maybe that's what Nebraska needed to do.
Well, and I think, Nebraska does you have to donate to get your seats. I think the cheapest donation you can make is like $150 a seat. But, man, I would just start funneling that into some other companies, suggest other companies so we can start buying players with NIL because that's what it's going to take to win now.
Mm-hmm.
I think whoever's putting the
Well, I
money
think
out
there's
there.
definitely enough money here in Nebraska to do whatever, because people will pay because they want the Huskers to be good.
Right.
I mean, look at Arch Manning. He's the backup at Texas, and he's getting paid. He's got one of the highest NIL deals. I mean, good for them. I think.
How do those NIL? How do those deals work?
I don't think there's any restriction to it.
Yeah, they changed it to where that kids can make money now. Yeah.
Like
Right, well, they
I
can
could
make
literally
money,
give some
but-
kid. I could be like, hey, I want you to talk about our podcast. And I'll pay you like $10 million. There's like no limitations to
I'm
it.
pretty sure that's like the Johnny Manziel rule. Isn't that when it all changed? When he was like,
Well, no, because remember Northwestern actually started because Northwestern didn't they sue the NCAA for getting paid to play? So it happened. Part of it happened with. See, this is my opinion. So the NCAA totally fucked themselves because remember the NCAA football game back in the day. A bunch of the players got pissed because
they were using their likeness. And
Yeah,
everything.
and-
yeah,
and they wanted to
Weren't
get
like using their names too.
yeah. The name
you could put in like codes and get the names all on
Mm-hmm.
there. But they were using their image and likeness basically without the name on the jersey at that time. And a bunch of the players like, dude, this is fucked up. Like, you're making all this money. The NCAA and
Yeah.
EA Sports is like, we want to get paid. In my opinion, all the NCAA had to do was say, okay, you're a senior, you get a stipend of this amount of money. You're a junior, you get you know what I mean? But they're like, no, we give you scholarships. Them fucking kids aren't there to play school. They don't care about school, most of them. They're there to fucking try to make it to the next level of whatever they're doing.
I
More
think
than
if
likely.
the university is making tons of, if they're selling jerseys with your name on the back of it, you should get some money from that.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that.
Well, and like where you
Because-
couldn't, like where Manziel, his whole thing, he was signing autographs. So here's what's stupid is let's say like Ndamukong Suh when he played for Nebraska. So let's say before that wasn't the Big 12 championship his last game, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So that game, let's say it was on a Saturday, probably was. Let's say on a Friday, someone offered to pay him for a fucking autograph, completely illegal in NCAA rules. Big 12 game on Saturday, Sunday, somebody offers to pay him. Well, he's no longer really a scholarship athlete anymore because his college football career is over.
Mm-hmm.
So then he can do it. It basically has no repercussions.
Yeah.
Like, how fucked up is that? And like Manziel, you watch his story, like how much money he made Texas A&M.
Right.
So I think the NCAA shot themselves in the foot. They should have just offered these kids like a stipend like years ago, and then you could have been like, hey,
Something.
we are paying you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, like if you want to stay scholastic, you give them money, some proportion of the.
and if you're a starter and how long you've
but it's
been
like,
there.
hey, yeah, but it goes. You get it once you graduate.
Oh, yeah, if you want to put in, which I think the NIL should go into a trust anyway, but it's not. But you're still going to have under the table deals that are going on with the kids anyway.
Right, but if you, whatever your surface level like legal stuff is, like should all be contingent upon graduation if you want to keep it scholastic pointed
Yeah.
or scholastic oriented.
But we all know that the universities don't really care about those kids graduating school.
Not
No.
really.
If they're a big name and they're generating money, they're a big
Well, I mean,
prospect.
the big name, but you still have like of the.
And there's other great names out there too. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's
Well,
other,
no, but I'm just saying, like of the Division One athletes out there, what 1% of them?
Something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Actually go to
Go.
the pros.
yeah, because how many college teams are there?
Right. So you've got maybe like 5% of the
a
team,
lot.
Yeah,
right? But 5 to 10% of the team is like, fuck yeah, I am NFL bound, or they're really, really trying. Everyone else is there. They want to try, like maybe they have a shot. And most of them are, I assume, are pretty realistic about like, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna make it.
I'm
So
getting
I've gotta
some
do
free
something
school.
afterwards.
This
But
is really
I get
nice.
some free
Yeah.
school. I can do this. I get a lot of different perks and stuff. So like, you're gonna have to graduate and do something. But that doesn't mean that you can't also benefit from a successful program that gives you money contingent upon you graduating.
and I think when they agreed to do the NIL thing, they should have fucking shut down the transfer portal because there's no loyalty. Like, you can't see a kid come in, like as a spectator, you watch a kid come in and like as a freshman, let's say he plays as like a true freshman, like this kid's awesome. And like, let's say we as a podcast, like we're like going to NIL this kid because he's in Nebraska, whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, this kid's awesome. We give him a bunch of money. Well, then the next year he's like, well, I'm going to jump in the transfer portal because I want to go play at Alabama or I want to go play at Colorado. Like,
And you already gave him money.
You already gave him money.
He's not locked into anything.
yeah, like I think that it's like if you want to do the NIL stuff, no transfer portal, or you have to do, what was the old school thing? You had to sit out for a year.
It was sit out for a year, yeah.
You have to, so that's what I think it should be. But I think that the NCAA, I think the NCAA is like super corrupt anyway, the way they treat the athletes. And
Right.
the way
Well,
that-
but like college football, when it comes, I guess, well, it's not necessarily in college football, but it's more for like the bowl games and championships, right? You have BCS that runs that, and that's where a shit ton of money comes into the schools, and where things get even wonkier because NCAA isn't actually running the postseason championship games and the tournament games and stuff. Whereas every other sport goes through regionals, super regionals, NCAA, whatever.
yeah, which I don't understand why they
But
can't
this
figure out a
BCS.
legitimate playoff system.
They got too much money in it now from the BCS system.
Yeah, so it's shitty because like everybody remembers what was that in the mid 2000s with like Boise State when they were like phenomenal and they were basically like,
Yeah, but
well-
they didn't play anybody when they were at
But
the beginning. They
That's
didn't-
the argument,
yeah,
but it's like, but they didn't have a chance.
that
They
is
didn't get
true.
a chance to play.
and if your
Yeah.
team's always sucks, like let's say like
No, that's when they started the little playoffs that they have now.
because like if you look at like
Boise
this
State.
area, like where we're at, like Iowa State's like notoriously been bad for years. I mean, they've had some ups and downs, but
Yeah.
let's say they come through and they just fucking rip through because they're still Big 12, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's say they just rip through the Big 12. They're still not going to get a fucking, you know what I mean? Because they'll say
Well-
that, well, your strength of schedule wasn't that good.
If they win, I think.
I think now it's better for them,
Yeah.
like you're saying, but
Yeah.
but back then, if you're an Iowa State fan and they just like tear through the Big 12, they're like, well, you're fucking
Right.
nobody, so you don't get a shot.
Yeah, it's like, well, I didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
I didn't have that opportunity.
And
to
that
play
was the same
anymore.
time, like, when Nebraska was dominant, like Nebraska could lose a game and they're still going to go to the national championship where like Iowa State could be undefeated. And they're like, well,
Well, that's always how it was too. Just as long as Nebraska has enough wins to make a bowl game, they're going to go to a big bowl game because the team travels well. There's going to be
oh yeah, it's a
thousands
huge,
of Husker
it's all
fans
money
that are
based
gonna-
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, we're going to give the Huskers a good bowl game because we know 50,000 people are going to be here.
Well,
to watch
wasn't
the
that like
game.
3 or 4 years ago? They qualified academically for a bowl
What?
because they knew Nebraska fans would travel. You remember that?
Yeah.
They got some kind of academic qualification.
I
and,
don't remember.
and it was
that.
like a
That's
super
terrible.
shitty bowl, like the fucking Tax Slayer Bowl or something like that.
Tax Slayer?
Yeah.
Weren't there like, there's like 130, 140 Division One teams and like 50 bowl games or 40 bowl games or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's
I remember
weird.
when
Maybe it's 30
when-
and there's 60 teams that go out of 120.
When we were kids, there was like 10 or something, wasn't there? It was like you went to...
and they were all like big bowls.
Yeah, they were like the Cotton Bowl,
Yeah.
The Orange Bowl.
yeah,
The what was the
Rose Bowl.
the Tostitas? What was that one?
That was...
The Fiesta Bowl.
I don't think a Fiesta Bowl was an original one. It was like the Orange Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and there was... man, I'd have to look. There's a couple other ones, and that was the main ones, and that's all anybody ever wanted to go to.
Yeah,
And then
now-
they started adding in the State Farm Express Bowl and the
Toilet Bowl, and you're
yeah,
like,
yeah, what the Clorox Championships. I don't. Yeah,
yeah.
Clorox, the proud
Yeah.
supporter of NCAA football.
But
Yeah.
I blame, like I said, I blame the NCAA for letting the NIL, and I don't blame these kids for the money they're getting now.
no, I mean, and they should. They bring in a shit ton of revenue.
You know,
right? So they
and-
should get some kickbacks.
I look at who actually, I think, me personally, who's gonna I guess I guess you're happy for or benefit, like a lot of the women's sports, because a lot of women's sports there's not another level, like there's not a huge pro level for women's sports. You know what I mean? Like NFL, major, baseball, all that shit coming out of these universities where you get some of these girls who are, can make a bunch of money in college because they don't really have a place to go sometimes afterwards. So I think they probably are reaping a lot of the rewards better than a lot of the guys.
I mean, I'm all for it. The one thing it should be contingent upon graduation, because like that is what you're going there for.
But what if you leave early for the draft though? You just don't ever get that money.
No, because you're going to go out and you're going to make millions of dollars doing that stuff. But like they need to make
that
it
would be another
scholastically
incentive
driven.
to keep people there too.
Right.
Like if you're good enough to go to the draft.
With like college basketball, right? There was whatever it was. Oh man, this was years ago. Kentucky, I think, had a run for like 3 or 4 years of being phenomenal, but they were all freshmen. Like they would bring in these brand new freshmen who would just crush it, take them real far, and then they'd go get drafted. And they'd bring in another group of freshmen and stuff. So like you get these really good basketball players who are there freshmen, maybe sophomore years, and then they roll because they don't have that same kind of time lag where like you have to do 3 years of school or be of a certain age in order to go to the NFL. Like basketball doesn't have that. In baseball, you can draft right out of high school.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to go and get.
And I don't think most of those kids play baseball. Right? Don't they still go to their AAA teams usually?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They can get drafted and they go up and they play. So I think if it's still going to be funneled through and it's part of because you are supposed to be a student athlete, right? And so,
but like I said, we all know they're not there to play
right.
school.
Most of them are not, right? So, but
is that the program? Didn't the program teach us that?
Yeah. But so then it should be somehow tied to scholastics. Part of the reason is to incentivize people to stay at school and stuff. The other part is, like, if you start giving like 19, 20-year-olds a shit ton of money with virtually no guides, at least when you go to the NFL,
you have an agent.
You have an agent. You have other people who like can at least kind of help.
They all want to see. They all want to see you do well, because if you don't do well, they don't make money.
Because the longer you do well, the more they're going to make. But if you're in college, like you don't have, like, maybe you have parents who are doing that, right? But otherwise, like you're just hanging out with a bunch of others, like 19, 20-year-olds, who just want to go out and party and do stuff. And so it's slippery. Like they should be compensated because they are generating a shitload of money for the school and for the sport. But
so let's say if you graduate and you have $10 million in your account, right? And if when you graduate, you get that $10 million. But if you leave early and go to the pros, that $10 million just goes back to the school.
But see, well, what would be the problem with that? What if it's like, I guess what problem so let's say we gave a player like $10 million and he never gets it, like, but I didn't want to give it to the university. Right. Like, cause like, let's say
there'd have to be maybe a stipulation in there that if,
that's what I said. Like, let's say a kid out of the gym from here at Omaha Barbell made it, but he was going to go to like USC. So we pay him like fucking $10 million. Well, he goes
stay here
early.
in Nebraska, right?
What's that?
To stay here at Nebraska because he wanted to go to USC.
No. Let's say he went to USC, but we all knew him because we watched him grow up.
Okay.
And he goes to USC. We give him $10 million.
Well, he definitely not giving him $10 million if he goes to USC.
Well, but mine is, he goes to the pros from there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to support USC.
Fair.
You know what I mean? So, unless you can be like, I'd like that money to go to Nebraska, like keep it in the university system, however you want to do it, I guess. But I don't know. Like I said, I think the NCAA could have stipended him years ago. It sounds
pretty messy when you start really thinking about it, because there would have to be a lot of stuff that goes into it to think about, like, okay, well, if this person donates this, if you don't get that money, they don't want to go to the university, so it's got to go back to you. It go back to the person.
And I don't know how much it's monitored. I don't think they have to report anything.
Probably not.
It's kind of like NASCAR. Like I remember when who was like Jeff Gordon was getting divorced, and his like ex-wife was trying to like, figure out what she was going to ask for, whatever alimony, whatever it was. And she was reaching out to other race teams to ask what they get. And no one will talk about it because it's super hush hush what sponsors pay people, because, if you're giving this guy more money than this guy, like, so no one would fucking like help her out. They're like, no, we don't talk about that. And I'm sure the NIL stuff is the same way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I'm glad players are getting paid, like I said, especially like a lot of the women's sports, because they don't have near the opportunities as far as next level and the amount of money at the next level that can be made. So good for them. I think that's cool. And good for these kids getting paid, because a lot of them are, like you said, aren't going to make it. Mm-hmm. The NFL is a very small percentage of that make it. There's not a lot of teams. There's not a lot of players. So But yeah, like I said, I just blame the NCAA for getting this far anyway.
Stupid NCAA.
So, but yeah, back to I think Nebraska can win 5 games if they win
Yeah.
today. Anybody else got anything they want to add today? I thought we covered some things for.
I did
really having
I did
plan.
a brisket last weekend.
Oh yeah, you did a really shitty brisket, didn't you?
Yeah, so it was a select cut of brisket that was brought. So
Where'd you get that at?
Select Choice Prime. Some guys at the bachelor party we were at, they brought it, and so I said I'd cook up a brisket. They brought the brisket, and it was a select cut, and it was challenging because the shape of the meat is different. The way the fat cap sits is different. Like the fat texture felt different. It was a very.
Was it harder?
No, it wasn't harder, but it was less consistent. So you had kind of your flat comes down, and you've got like this big fat cap on it, and then as you get towards the top of the point, there was a chunk over here that I usually, I don't know, I've heard it called to kind of like the tomahawk, but kind of where they meet, and it's usually like if you look at it from the side, there's this big fat pocket in there between the cap and the point, or the fat and the point, and so you can kind of like shave that down, but it was just like a big fat cap on top, and then a gap with just some like real soft stringy fat, and then the rest of the fat cap on there, and then the edges were just different, but it was a very different cut to try to trim it up. You had to pay a lot more attention to it, and then when I cooked it, I had to pay a lot more attention to like temperature and stuff, and kind of trying to keep it all going. And I went in there and kind of poked it a couple times because it started to pool, just because I think the meat was different and it wasn't as uniform. So I started to get like pools of like grease and stuff sitting on top there. So I had to get those off. And then when I took it off, I probably didn't pull it until it was 210 in the paper, because it just didn't feel right. Like it still felt really firm at about 200. So I mean, all in all, that thing was close to like a 17, 18 hour cook before it was all said and done.
And it's probably the less intermuscular fat is why it took so long to try to break it down.
Yeah, something. Yeah, but it just didn't soften up until then.
But that's that prime example we've talked about, like paying for better meat.
Yeah, you definitely, you pay for the better meat, you have a lot more room for error. And so if you put that same kind of effort into a better quality meat, you're going to get a better flavor on the outside. I think the flavor of it and the tenderness turned out pretty well. It did not take smoke like the others I normally do. Like there wasn't a big ring around it. It didn't have much of that smoke to it. I still use the same plum pellets. Now it was on that Pro 34, the Traeger Pro 34 versus the other.
Yeah, but still.
But so it should still have, which I've done a bunch on there and had more smoke flavor to it and stuff. But it was different, a little more challenging.
Yeah, that'd be my biggest advice for brisket is if you're going to spend the time, spend a little bit more money, because you don't want to go like 17 hours and then it's like not. I mean, you want to be proud of what you made.
Yeah.
Like you get it out and you're like, well, I got this fucking ground up dog shit over here. We'll just make
Did my best. Did my best.
Guess we're having fucking tacos.
Yeah, like I definitely was concerned as I was trimming it up.
So anybody for chili?
Yeah.
Anybody,
but I actually took on where it was like this fat chunk on top and then the other fat piece here. As I carved down, I actually took like some of the harder fat and toothpicked it into the crevice where there wasn't a lot of fat in there, hoping that it might render down a little bit and kind of like soak in. I don't know if it really did anything, but like it wasn't. I was concerned at the beginning, but when it came out, I was like, for like what we started with and stuff.
But the best part is the guys that were with you didn't know any better. Yeah. And the best thing about barbecue is if the meat's like kind of shitty, you just put barbecue sauce on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as there's a little bit of a burnt edge, a little bit of flavor on there, a little barbecue sauce.
Yeah, they probably thought you were legendary.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. If you're going to take 17 hours, 10 hours, whatever, spend a little bit. It doesn't have to be crazy, but I mean, at least buy like a prime or a really good looking choice. Look for the intermuscular fat.
Yep. And again, I did it on that one, which really shrank the brisket a lot, but did kind of like that competition cut to like really try to make it uniform and curved out. I also didn't have pans to render it, so I didn't render down, which I think if I rendered it down, like the fat to make tallow, that would have given a really good indication as like the quality of the meat. Because I've seen that when I've rendered down other brisket fat pieces. Like if it's a really good cut of meat and you're like, as you're trimming it, you're like, oh yeah, this is really good. Like that fat renders down really well and gives like a much better flavor and look than like some of the other stuff.
Nice. You didn't have to make tacos or chili.
Nope.
But all right, well, we appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you guys go like, subscribe, share. We're on all the audio platforms, on the video platforms, and we'll see you guys next time.